Can they hear me? Hello, hello. Hello, hello. Okay, I hope everybody can hear me. Hope everybody is doing well. My name is Terrence J. I'm your host for the program today. Welcome. Ebony Magazine is doing this. I'm so excited. Father's Day is around the corner, and we're going to talk to some amazing dads. For all the people out there that don't have kids like myself, I need to learn from the experts so that when I have kids, I'm on the right path. So I hope everybody's getting ready for Father's Day. We have to represent for the dads properly, and we have some incredible dads that I'm going to talk to right now for some insight, some conversation. It's so important for us as Black men to unite and have this type of dialogue. So I'm really, really excited for today, and I'm friends with all these people, so I can't wait to talk to them. First up, get to the intros right here. First up, we have George 2.0, my man George A. Peters II. He's a proud graduate of Morehouse College. What's up? Morehouse is always in the building. He has Georgie, who is 17 months old. So I'm sure Georgie is running around that house right now. We're going to talk a little bit about that.
She's going to answer some of these questions, I'm sure, at some point.
He's going to come on and
She's going to come in here at some point.
We're going to put Georgie to work. Next up, my good friend Flex Alexander. Flex has been doing it in this industry for years and years. I don't even need to give his resume because he's show and movie you could possibly imagine. Now, Flex, you have two. Yours are older. So you have EBONY, who's 19, and then Elijah, 17 years old, right?
Yes, sir.
Yep.
Yes,
so
sir.
They damn near out the house at this point.
They don't even care about me no more. So all they know is, can you cash at me? That's it.
I hear that. Last but certainly not least, my good friend Jeff Johnson. Jeff, whenever I have questions in life, you ask yourself, what would Jesus do? Then right after that, you ask yourself, what would Jeff do? Jeff is one of those guys who just supports our community, tirelessly works for us. Now, Jeff, you got a little stable over there. You got Madison, Miles, Malcolm, Baldwin, and Garvey. He was going with the M names and then just said, you know what, forget it. We just switch this up. So how is it being a dad to so many, Jeff? Jeff got so many kids, he can't even hear us right now. He has no idea. He has so many kids, he has no idea what is going on. So we'll allow Jeff a moment. Jeff, as soon as you get your tech up, just jump right in, all right? Okay, I'm not sure if you can hear us at all. All right, George, I'm going to start with you. Because look, man, I'm 39. People are starting to think I'm crazy without having no kids yet. I don't know how I survived this long. Yeah. I told myself about 40, I got to figure this out. Jay-Z had Blue Ivy at 40. Yeah. So I know a year from now, I gotta figure this out.
Yeah.
What's the best part about being a dad?
Well, I'm not gonna lie to you, man. I'm actually turning 40 in like a month, so I just crossed the sands myself. Like I'm a neo to this whole thing. I'm still wearing my dad letters, excited to be, probating on some dad stuff, right? Honestly, the most exciting thing is like being able to expose my daughter to everything, right? To be a filter through, her experience and kind of help her with guideposts about, boundaries, so to speak. But at the same time, being able to be the first and second person along with my wife that exposes her to something. Like that is such a crazy responsibility when you think about the fact that the first time a human being will learn how to eat certain foods, like what biases do you put on there, or how cool are you in letting her make her own decisions, right? So the biggest and the coolest thing for me is the fact that I happen to be like her first line of defense. Like I'm the individual along with my partner, my wife, who gets a chance to expose her to everything. And in a lot of ways that kind of lets me start over again in life, right? Things that I didn't get a chance to do, not to put the pressure on her, but like to let her experience things for the first time. I too am experiencing them like right alongside of her. So it's like being in class with her all the time. It's crazy. It's crazy.
Yeah, so I've been watching, I have a niece and nephew that are now 9 and 11. Yeah. And I've been spending time with them, more time than usual lately. And like Mila had beignets for the first time. And it just took me back to my first
man.
Mormons, just looking at her face light up. She ate 30 of them. She was like, man, Flex, can you talk a little bit about the joy of having those first with your kids and watching them experience those things, you know, for the very first time, like George was talking about?
Yeah. I'll tag right along to what George was saying, man. You know, just seeing them discover, you know, you're teaching, they're discovering, and it's like you get this do-over. All of the things that my grandmother and my mom taught me, and I had two, you know, strong, amazing women that raised me. All the things that they taught me, I get to teach them. And, you know, they had their bumps along the way, but I look at it now, my wife and I say, you know what, we did all right, because they, you know, we equip them with the right things. And you'll find out when they get to this age and they start to spread their wings, that's when you'll find out, okay, did everything I equipped them with, is it going to hold true? And I see that now. My daughter's like, I'm not settling for just any dude. I know what I want. And, you know, for the girls, they're going to look in a man, when they start looking for that boyfriend, they're going to look for a little bit of their father in that boyfriend. And for my son, just teaching him how to be a man and teaching him how to hold his own. And 17, you know, it's a tough age, because I'm like, hey man, clean your bathroom, you know. so it's a joy though. It's definitely a joy. But this age here, they go in increments, and this is just a different phase of it. But I love it all. I love it.
I love it. We have a 17-year-old and then one that's 17 months. So we're on both sides of the spectrum right now. So I didn't have a bunch of traditions growing up. You know, now I look back, I had a really good childhood, but we didn't like set a lot of traditions in stone. You know, as Black men, how important is it to create our own traditions for our kids and to start our foundation? So many of us are first generation everything. First generation, you know, in school and job, for a lot of us in the entertainment industry or in different, you know, aspects of career. How important is it for us to set those traditions around holidays and how we support each other and hold each other down? How important is that?
I think it's very important. Me, you know, my wife sometimes she's like, you know, you a mini Malcolm X, because I like to teach them the truth about holidays.
Come on, man. Come on.
You know, so I give them the real. You know, we grow up in these traditions, and we don't know any better, because at the time our parents didn't know any better. And it's not that they're bad people, but they're teaching what they were taught, and it just goes on. It's cyclical. So my daughter was literally going to junior high school believing in Santa Claus. I said, okay, we got to stop this. I said, we are not having this. So I had to break down to her the tradition, the true story.
How did she go that long still believing in Santa? Black people, we don't believe
my wife, it's the wife. Listen, let me tell you something. Shanice, you know Terrence J, how she is. That's how she is all the time. Shanice is almost like a Disney princess, and she lives in that world. And she's like, "Oh, the world is full of rainbows," and so she kind of passed that down. But I had to step in and say, "You cannot be going to junior high school believing in Santa Claus. You can't."
My God, George! At 17 months, you know that's one of the scariest moments.
Yeah.
Like once they can talk and communicate, I'm like, all right, I can deal with a 7-year-old. I'm good with 10-year-olds. You know, that first year, that first 2 years, I don't know how to change diapers.
Yeah, man.
How have you been adjusting to fatherhood?
Yeah, the adjustment has been crazy, bro. I'll tell you, you know, even thinking about the tradition aspect, right? And the things that you do want to share. You know, right now, so much is happening in our world where traditions that we're used to are being upended. We're starting to explore new things. We're giving more agency to our kids to make decisions about who they know themselves to be. Yeah. And so in that way, even around the idea of telling your kid, look, ain't no white man coming down the chimney. Right? Like dad goes out and come. Okay, all right, right. You know, so those kind of things are important, and breaking that kind of mold is cool, right? But I think in terms of the adjustment of dealing with a 17-month-old, my whole thing has been flipped, yo. Like I'm thinking to myself, and looking at her as an example of ways in which I need to change my thinking around certain traditions. And like you, Terrence, like, you know, we were big on holidays and traditions, but it was centered around family. Like we celebrated the holiday because it was an opportunity for family to come together, right?
Yeah.
Like that's what was mattering. Like, I mean, I
Yeah.
hated going outside and putting up Christmas lights with my dad all the way until I came back to college. But I knew we were going to spend that time together.
Yeah.
And so it wasn't so much about that. It was more about spending time with family. And that's kind of what I'm kind of trying to instill in my daughter, along with my wife right now, is we spend time together, right? Family Friday is as important as St. Patrick's Day or whatever other holiday is being commercialized, right? And that's kind of how we're spending our time now. You know what I mean?
Yeah, man. And if you're just tuning in, thank you so much, Ebony Magazine, for having us. This is Community Connect. I'm Terrence J. It's a guy with no kids, a guy with a newborn, and a guy with a 17-year-old and 19-year-old. And we're just having a candid, open discussion, having dialogue about what it is to be a father right now. So if you're just tuning in, you're just a flyer on the wall of three guys in the virtual barbershop having a conversation again with our friends at Ebony Magazine. So I got to ask, what is, and we have Jeff Johnson joining us back. Jeff, can you hear us now, brother?
Yeah, I can hear y'all now, man. I don't know what was up before.
Got it,
My
man.
brother,
So
my
listen,
brother.
Hey,
What's up, Jeff?
What's
What's up, man?
What's up,
at
Jeff?
this point, we've all had so many tech issues with all the different, streaming service. It's all good, brother. How's it going with you, man?
Man, I'm good. I'm trying to get in on this discussion, man. You know, I'm a crib to college dad of 5, so I got 22, 19, 18, 4, and 2.
Wow.
Yeah.
You got the whole spectrum right there.
Yeah,
Now,
man.
do you put your 22-year-old in charge of 2-year-old sometime? Are you able to
Absolutely
delegate?
not.
Yeah.
Like I was really, no, I'm serious. Like I was really serious when we had Baldwin, who's my 4-year-old. I said, I do not want my older kids to ever feel like babysitters. Like I want them to be able to enjoy their younger siblings. And so many families either don't have that luxury or they're mandating that the older kids become many parents. And so the older kids are pissed, number one, because it's like, I'm supposed to be able to go out. And then 2, they never form the relationship with their younger brothers and sisters as younger brothers and sisters.
Yeah.
They just bootleg mama and daddy. And I never wanted that.
Yeah.
Got it. So, and you can chime right in on this next one. What's one of the biggest challenges in fatherhood and being a dad?
Not effing up your kids. Like I watch these little dudes in particular run around and I'm like, God, please don't let me mess up this energy. And I think as parents, you know, I had a brother tell me the other day, we have a fatherhood community called Journesy. And he was like, Jeff, I need help. I don't even know what I'm doing. And I'm like, bro, I don't know what I'm doing. And every parent I know that's honest is like, yo, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm literally showing up every day with all I know how to do until I know more. Yeah. And so I think the biggest thing, Terrence, is the biggest challenge for me is how do I instruct them on the things that I'll know they'll need without giving them my trauma in the process of instructing them.
Yeah. And for me, it's the same, but then it's trying to correct, the mistake of let me just throw everything at them that I didn't have instead of teaching them what I didn't know. Yeah. And because they get in this place of complacency and this place of entitlement. And that's the balance that it is for us, is because you overboard. You're like, I want to, I came up in the projects in the South Bronx, we struggle. So I'm like, they're not going to struggle. Let me get them this. But those things aren't important. I'm like, let me teach them, like now I'm teaching them about credit. Teaching them about universal index life insurance, teaching them about crypto, having them invest. I started last year having them invest in crypto and learning those things so that those life tools can take them forward. But I think one of the toughest things right now is teaching them how to adjust with the climate of either being pulled over while they're driving, adhering to instruction if they're pulled over. And all of the things that we're facing in this world today.
Yeah, no, Flex, I tell my boys, get home.
Yes.
Like, I don't care what
That's
you
all
got to
that
do. Get home.
Yeah.
I know you know the law. I know you know what's right. I know you know what's not right. Let me get that badge. Let me get the badge number and deal with that. I just need you to get home.
Yeah. Exactly.
And even that is hard.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
my event actually came again. I'm only 17 months in, right? So this is all brand new to me. But in preparing, and Jeff, you know, I talked to you. I was asking, you know, a lot of my big brothers, like, how do I get prepared for what I know is going to be the hardest moment, right? And so I thought about, you know, playing a different role than what was stereotyped. You know, as soon as my child was born, like, I'm gonna be up, I'm gonna do everything, right? I'm gonna be that dad, you know. And immediately I figured out that all that I had in mind for what my initial journey would be was wrong. I mean, I got hit upside the head in an emotional way that I didn't even expect. Within like 2 or 3 days, I realized that my child doesn't want me right now, doesn't need me right now. And I had done so much preparing to be that dad, right? I just knew I was going to be that dad, and recognizing that I wasn't really being effective because the things that my daughter needed in the early part of her life weren't coming from me. They were coming from her mother.
Yeah.
And that broke my heart. Like, I really had to step back and be like, man, this sucks. Like, I'm the only other person you're supposed to know when she's waving me off, like, no, get out of here, dude. I'm like, I'm half of that, right? But then I realized that the relationship that I was supposed to be protecting at that moment was broader, right? I was supposed to be taking care of my wife at that moment. And that's how I could be the best dad for my family at that point, right?
Yeah.
So that, you know, while she was making the continued sacrifice after 9 months to continually put her body through things, as a dad, my job was to assess what needed to happen as opposed to saying what should happen before I got in the situation. And that has led me to being way more patient and way more studied about what I will do after evaluating a situation, as opposed to just going in guns blazing thinking I know the answers. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's crazy you said gun blazing. So, Jeff, I was talking about my nephew and my niece that I've been watching. So my nephew was having some issues with the bullying in school, right? And so my initial advice, you know, I'm like, you know, go to school and do what you got to do, right? Like I started thinking to myself, like, wow, I'm really in an influential place right now when you're dealing with young people. What you tell them is how they're going to operate, right? I can give this guy tools for him to be violent or non-violent, for him to be passive, for him to be assertive, and it was kind of, it dawned on me like, wow, this is a lot of responsibility. So for all of you guys, when these questions come up, right, when things come up with your daughters or your sons, who do you go to for advice? And how important is it for us as Black men to have this type of dialogue, to ask each other questions like, man, what should I be telling him to do? You know?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good one. For me,
Jeff and Flex will take George. Don't come to. They'll tell you to smack him up. They'll tell you
But sometimes that might work though. That might work sometimes.
You know?
Hey, listen. Let me tell you something. My son did. He went through a phase, a couple of years where he went through that, and that was my mindset. T, it was hey, you go and you handle your business. Like, they get up in your face, and my wife is like, no, you can't teach him that. But I'm like, yeah, I gotta teach him how to be a man, you know. But it's teaching him a man mean be somebody's behind. So it was juxtaposed. But at the end of the day, we actually talked to a child psychologist, which it was a brother, and which was very helpful because he really got to ask the questions to our son that we couldn't ask, or that he wouldn't open up to us about. And it ended up being a great thing, and he ended up handling it a whole different way, and then it ended up going away. Now, for our daughter, she didn't go through, you know, bullying or anything like that. For her, it's how do I prepare her for womanhood coming forward? And I tell her straight up, these dudes out here, they lying. They just want one thing, you know. And I'm just real with her, and I love the relationship we have, because she'll tell me straight up, like, Dad, this dude came at me, or, you know, I'm not trying to say he got too many women. Like, she'll tell me straight up. My daughter's a Virgo. She is focused on what she wants, and she ain't having nothing else.
Yeah, Terrence, I made sure that my son learned hypnotism. So it's a 17-year-old right now still clucking like a chicken because he messed with me. No, I mean, I think Flex has it. I think for me, it's what are all the pieces in the toolkit, and so village is just really important to me. And so we have a set of aunts and uncles who are parent approved. That even if the kids don't want to bring it to me, I know they can bring it to aunt so and so or uncle so and so because we've said it and that they are aligned in our values, they're aligned in our approach. But I think our kids need to know how to defend themselves because of the world that they're in. I don't think they can be afraid of violence. I think that they have to be clear that violence shouldn't be the first option. And so I don't want to send any marks into the world any more than I want to send a predator into the world. Mm-hmm. And so how do we make sure our kids are prepared to know how to use their hands? How do we make sure our kids, if you believe in it, know how to use certain weapons? Mm-hmm. We live in an insane world. And I just want my babies to be in a place where they're not afraid of some of these things. So they better know how to handle them.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, well, I don't quite yet have Georgie boxing yet, but I'm gonna tell you what though,
we'll get him ready early.
We're gonna get him ready as soon as them hands are ready.
I gotta calm Garvey down, man, because he's a 2-year-old light-skinned savage, and man, like everything. His name means rough piece.
Right.
So like this dude is showing up on the set like he'll come into the room and be like, "Daddy, you want some of this business?" Literally, that's what he was. So that's the other thing, Terrence, is like all of our kids have different personalities and different energies. And while Baldwin is almost an empath, like he empathizes with everything that's going on with other people, Garvey is like, nah, bro, like, let's do this. And so I know that I'm gonna have to do different kind of stimuli with both of them because they're just different people.
Yeah, I feel you. So, and speaking of business right now, quick business. Thank you so much to P&G for sponsoring this series. They have a new program that aims to broaden the way Black people are portrayed in advertising and entertainment through increased investment in Black directors, actors, crews, and media. So we're going to take a look at this clip right now for more.
If you think you know what happens next, ask yourself why. These are the Black stories we've been shown. A narrow view that limits our understanding. But there's so much more to see. Of Black life. Let's widen the screen so we can widen our view.
Wow. What a deep piece. As quick as that was, man, let's widen the screen so we can widen our view. I know for myself, when I saw some of those images, I was like, I know where this is going. And they definitely took that on their head. Can you talk a little bit about how you feel watching that clip and your responsibility as a Black man stepping up and being a good father and what that means to you with all of the misconceptions that we've seen on screen throughout the years?
Yeah, I mean, I think we know what that is, and sometimes I think the onus is on us to just decide what Black masculinity means to us and how we want to represent that in our life, as opposed to being overly concerned with how people see us, because some people are never going to get it. And I think for those of us that do the work that we do, sometimes it's behind the scenes where we have the ability to lift the complexity of Black men through what we write, through what we capture, for how we cast, for how we for the archetypes that we accept, because sometimes even in our desire to squash some of these stereotypes, we elevate others.
Mm-hmm.
And so that widening the screen piece is even for those of us that say we're championing the elevation of Black masculinity, because sometimes we bring our trauma to it and don't realize that we actually aren't open to elevating every image of Black masculinity.
I couldn't agree more. I think, one of the things I really appreciate about that as a girl dad also, right? And one of the things I really appreciate about a piece like that is the idea of understanding that we are competing against perceptions, and not just those that exist, but those that, as you said, Jeff, we've contributed to. And I think about myself and raising a young girl and all the perceptions that I will unknowingly put on her. And as much as I want her to trust me, and as much as I want to share my experiences with her, at some point, I want to be sure that the way that I show up is through encouraging her to ultimately, eventually, trust her inner compass more than she trusts anything else.
Your voice included.
My voice included. That at some point, apart from saying don't touch that, which I'll stop saying in a couple of years, and all those other perfunctions, right? At some point, I want her to be like, no, I know who I am. I have a great sense of people. I have a great sense of self. And that self-assuredness allows me to be intrepid enough to widen screens for myself. And so ultimately, at some point, the way that I want to show up as a Black father is through encouraging her as a Black person to trust her Black compass, her experiences, her sense of self,
Man, that's good stuff there. It's hard to, even, put the cherry on top of that one. I know y'all said it beautifully, man, beautifully. It is. I think I just constantly go back in my mind to growing up in the 70s and, being able to enjoy that time in the 80s, even though those times had their problems of its own. And I just look at what our children are dealing with now. That for me, like Jeff is already, he's gone through it and still going through it. And you have a younger one and you're going to have to prepare for that. I think for me now, I was just talking to my son the other day and I said, man, I'm so sorry. You guys got to experience this. You didn't have a chance to really have fun. He said, Dad, you know what? It's just such a normal part of our life. It is what it is. It was almost like the kids his age talk about it and they're like, yo, this is all we know. Mm-hmm. Just like with us coming up, well, probably Jeff, us coming up, where your neighbor could whip your butt and go tell your mother, what you were doing. This generation is adapted to what's happening now. So it's sad, but I'm like, wow, it's a reality.
Yeah. It's where we are now.
I don't know if I think it's sad, brother. I think there's an opportunity for us to help them understand some of the great things we experience, so they can decide what they want to build.
Right.
And some of the dope things, some of the terrible things we had to deal with, they don't. So I don't know if it's so much.
I think probably sad might be the word, but I think just innately for me, there's a part of me that just feels bad that they haven't gotten to, have that fun or in the way we had it. But I know now they're having their own type of fun. So probably the wording was wrong. But I mean, you understand what I'm saying as a father.
I know when I was watching my nephew, right, we're in the pool. The pool is heated, right? I know growing up, we didn't even have heat.
You had a pool?
Terrence, growing up in the Bronx, a heated pool was a kid pee in the pool when you were there.
All of that, right? No private pool. So we're in the pool, but the kids got the what the virtual reality sets, right?
Oh yeah.
And so it's like they rather be, this generation rather be on a virtual reality than in the actual pool playing sports and all, you know. And so it's just the times have definitely changed. And so as fathers, I'm sure we all have to be equipped differently for the times that there are today.
I joke all the time. I'm gonna send my daughter to her room, and she's gonna be like, "Fine, I got a teleporter in there. I'm going over." And I'll be like, "All right, turn the teleporter off. Turn it off."
So look, I know we're going to take some questions from the audience. So if we can start getting those questions in right now. Again, if you're just tuning in, thank you so much to Ebony Magazine. This is Community Connect. This is just 4 guys. We're getting close to Father's Day, talking about what it makes to be a dad. A guy with no kids, a guy with a young kid, a guy with 2 grown kids, and then a guy with a basketball team of kids. We all having a conversation right now. You know, the one of the reasons why I really want to have a child is for legacy. You know, I realize, you know, the older we get, the more we realize our own mortality, right? All the things that we work for, all the things that we built. Right now, if I'm not here tomorrow, you know, what does it all mean, right? Mm-hmm. Can you talk a little bit about the importance of legacy and why having a kid is a beautiful thing, having a child is a beautiful thing because of the legacy that we're going to be able to build, especially as Black people. And then we're going to take some questions from the audience.
I think it's everything. I literally think it's everything. I was talking today to somebody about my grandfather, Johnny B. Johnson Sr., who was a mechanic in Columbus, Georgia, and moved to Cleveland when the Ford plants opened, and how having that job at Ford was amazing because there were benefits, because there was union pay, because it was stable, because literally the Black middle class in Ohio legacy, right, was built by people that worked in these factories. My father, however, didn't want that job, and he was the oldest son, and my grandfather expected him to work at Ford. But my father said, I'm going to the Navy because what I see for myself is bigger than Ford. And then getting back from the Navy, he worked for the NSA and moved overseas. When I'm coming to age, I remember me and my dad beefing because what he wanted me to keep a track scholarship so that I could have that paid for school. And I was like, this coach don't see the whole me, and I need to get rid of this scholarship to do this. I said that story because every generation is actually charged with standing on the shoulders of the previous so they can see things that won't make sense to the other generation because they're standing on their shoulders. And when I think about the legacy of fathers that I come from, they were revolutionary, not because they had some well thought out plan. It was because they had a compass about their purpose, and they were willing to do stuff that didn't make sense to their father so they could create something that the father before them could not. That's what legacy. That's what I'm excited about. And I'm thankful for the legacy that I come from. And Terrence, man, I think about certain brothers that I know, who what I know from them and by watching them, who I think it makes sense to be a father.
Yeah.
And who I'm like, I hope they'll never have no kids. and no, brother, like you have an unbelievable work ethic and humanity, and you build coalitions of men. Your crew that's around you, the friends that you have, you're committed to learning, you're committed to growth, and you're committed to building. And those are all of the things that make a great dad. The other part of it is that you're incredibly human. And so I'm not trying to paint you out to be perfect, brother. I know you got your idiosyncrasies and your character flaws, but from an older brother that has watched you, I was there when you got to BT.
Yeah. That guy was not ready for kids.
And I definitely wouldn't have said that he was. But no, brother, it has been an honor watching you.
Thank you, brother.
And as a father who has watched fathers, like you were the kind of brother that already has those things. It's just when that baby comes and then you stuck because the emotion sticks in. So I'm excited about you becoming a father, brother, when it's time, because I think you make a great one.
That means the world to me, Jeff. Flex George, we have so many questions pouring in. Yeah. I'm going to read one of these questions. And, you guys can still see me while I'm reading this. Okay, we have DP that says, we can hear you, Terrence. Stop yelling. I'm sorry. Catherine children.
We're excited. We're excited.
Wonderful cast. We need more of this. I'm really having a good time doing this. So thank you. Cynthia Russell says, thank you guys for doing this. The question we have, how have the father figures in your life help shape the way you raise your children? How the father figures in your life help shape the way you raise your children? And that comes from Nija. George, Flex, if either one of you guys would take that question.
It was tough for me. It was even a different road for me because I didn't have that father figure. My father figure was my mother, my grandmother. My mom dated or whatever, but I didn't look at any of her boyfriends as like, oh yeah, this is my father figure. So I kind of had to figure it out. I literally, when you become a father, a parent, there's no manual they give you and go like, here you go right here, step 1, step 2. And it's the same thing with the image of a father. And not having that, I made it a point that when I become one, I was going to be a good father. I was going to be a great provider. I was going to guide my children. And I wasn't going to be or do the things that my father did. I'm not, dragging him into the mud. He had his life and he lived it. But there are things that still stick with me from when I was younger that I missed. So I adopted fathers. I adopted people. And even as I got older, I adopted people like Dr. John Henrik Clark, Joseph Binyakin, Ashra Kwesi, Tony Browder, people like that who taught us about ourselves. So learning about myself could make me be better so that my son and my daughter, they could be better.
I love it. All right, George, I got another question for you, and this one
sure.
is directly for you. Another one from the audience. How are you able to balance having a newborn with your career in the pandemic?
Yeah, it's a great question. One of the things that that having a newborn will do is make you go find the bag. And I'm not talking about like the carry-on. I'm talking about the joint you tuck under, like you check the bag, right? It'll make you go out and find that, right? And I think, it's been really cool because as somebody that traveled a lot for work, as we all have, the opportunity to be home and see every stage of development and not, via FaceTime, not miss the first step, not miss the first whatever. That's actually been one of the most beautiful things of the pandemic for me. Aside from that, really the idea of really being close to my family during this time is what I needed to survive the pandemic, to reclaim my space, to make sure that I was doing what I needed to do to provide. Most like technically though, as a DJ, I just strapped my daughter to my chest, you know what I'm saying? And one of the kangaroo joints, and she now loves music. And I think it's because of that interaction. So there's been mostly positives. The only tough thing has been that I haven't had the opportunity like I would have wanted to show her off or to get her to spend time with family or to have, grandparents put that DNA on her. It's been a lot of photo streams and a lot of FaceTimes and a lot of pictures and things like that. So we have missed that. Fortunately, it has not affected her social development at all. But during the pandemic, the opportunity to just spend time and to not have, the traditional travel schedule, to really be at home during these formative years. I know the pandemic sucked, but that was awesome. And I'm truly thankful for those months, those years.
It's a beautiful thing, man. Okay, so with that said, look, I want to thank Ebony Magazine again for putting us together. This was the panel I didn't know I needed. Right, I'm so excited. So thank you so much to Ebony. Thank you so much to P&G. Thank you for everybody tuning in. This is Community Connect, and I want to say how proud I am of all of you. We gotta give each other our roses. We gotta support each other. Anybody can have a kid. Being a dad, stepping up as a man, being a parent is something we need more of, and we have to be there for each other and support each other. So I just want to let you guys know that I respect and I support each and every one of you. And with that said, I'll leave you guys with the last word. Just anything as we're going into Father's Day that you want to say out there to other dads or to potential dads as we celebrate Father's Day this weekend. You guys can go around the horn.
Actually, as the youngest dad here, I'll actually take something that Jeff said to you, Terrence, and this is something that I talk about on the Diaper Dads podcast, where a lot of dads are trying to figure out if they have all the answers, right? I think the most important thing is the willingness to ask the questions, right? To speak with other fathers and determine that through this conversation, through our shared lived experiences, we can provide information, we can provide solace in the fact that we're figuring things out. And as soon as you figure something out, your child gets older, as you said, Flex, incrementally, and now you got to figure out something new, right? So for fathers that are celebrating, don't be afraid to grow with your child, to let your child lead a little bit so that you know how to lead them. But most importantly, for those that are considering being fathers, just think of it like this. You're not going to be prepared until that child comes, right? You're going to have to respond to your child. No matter how many things you set aside, no matter how much you put aside, you're going to have to respond to your child. So be open, be willing, be brave, and be willing to ask other fathers questions about their lived experiences, and you'll be fine. You'll be fine.
Yeah.
Famous last words. Those are the famous last words. I just see myself holding Pampers with all types of goodies in them. And
you'll be fine. You'll be fine.
Flex,
man, for fathers who are thinking about it and like yourself, Terrence, and just really want to go down that road. I know I said it at one point, like, I'm not prepared yet. I need to have this and I need to have this going before you're never going to be prepared. Let's just get that out the way. You're never going to be prepared. This is a on-site, on the job, like you're going to learn as you go. So just enjoy the ride. Don't be afraid to make mistakes. Don't be afraid to ask the questions. And lastly, we need to push and really get some more love for Father's Day. Halloween is before Father's Day on the list of holidays.
Yes.
We got to push to get we need great, beautiful Father's Day commercials with beautiful songs too.
Yes.
And I'm done.
And of course, last word from Jeff Johnson, please.
Yeah, I mean, I agree so much with what both Flex and G said. I would say your greatest superpower is going to be your presence. And I think as dads, often we're so busy. It doesn't matter what kind of job it is. We're working. We're thinking about trying to get the bag. We're figuring out how to get the bag. We're moving to get the bag. And a lot of times we allow that to be our primary responsibility. And our primary responsibility really is being present. And that is like literally to the degree that we can, diving into and being immersed by every moment we have with our babies. And so whether that's doing homework or whether that's, sometimes the kids will be like, yo, daddy, let's play dinosaurs. And I'm immediately like, which one you want me to be? Or I'm a sword. Or, there is such a blessing that comes in recognizing that what our kids are going to remember most is not what we bought them, not where we took them. Mm-hmm. It's who we were with them in the moment. And so I would say lean into that and lean into every emotion, because our babies are going to be able to process what the emotion of men looks like by watching us exhibit, even if we're not controlled by those emotions. And that's why I created this community called Journey, where we take journey and legacy and put it together. So Journey is a community that is celebrating the unique journey of every Black father to create legacy for his kids. And we created a Journey bag. We have a community where we're supporting brothers. Literally yesterday, I had a conversation with a brother who on a live said, Jeff, I'm raising this 2-year-old by myself because my girl died and I don't know what the hell I'm doing. Mm. And within an hour, we had 4 brothers on the phone with this guy who had all lost their wives or their significant others and are raising daughters by themselves. Mm. And this brother reached back out and said, man, immediately I connected with one of these brothers. And so the community is crucial, because not only do we not know everything, but we don't even know as dads what we're going to need as a result of this road that we're on to be fathers. So create your fatherhood tribe, brothers. Because if you even believe that you can do it by yourself, you're going to create challenges that you just don't have to.
Man, well, look, I know just watching this panel, I was gonna give my stepdad a phone call on Father's Day because of Flex and because of y'all, man. I'm gonna send him some money. All right,
There you go.
Put some of them cash out or something. Yeah, he can download some movies for the Chinese food spot, whatever he wants to do. I'm gonna send him some money because of y'all. What are y'all doing for Father's Day? What's the Father's Day vibe? What do people do for Father's Day fresh out of the pandemic? What y'all doing?
Listen, I'm playing golf with 30 other brothers. We have a group of 30 brothers, professionals from every walk of life, attorneys, entertainment people, athletes. We get together and it's beautiful. People like Byron Scott, Reggie Pierce, like Chris Spencer, like all of us. And it's beautiful because we get together, we get to love on each other, play golf. And when I come home, wifey has something planned for me, but I don't know. But yeah, I'm playing golf.
Hint, hint, hint. Nudge, nudge, nudge.
George, what you doing? George, you ain't doing nothing.
No, I'm still, hey, I'm telling you, I still got sand between my toes. No, this weekend we are celebrating the International Day of Purpose, so that will be sort of taking us into that. One of my absolutely biggest purposes is to be the kind of father that I was inspired by my father being. And interestingly, one of the traditions he passed on to me was woefully, unyieldingly accepting the pain of being a Philadelphia sports fan. So my hope. Somebody say hope.
Hope.
Is that on Sunday I will be celebrating Father's Day by watching a Game 7 victory of my basketball team. But aside from that, no, it's just really spending the time. I don't expect to get any neckties. I don't expect any, anything crazy like that. I just want to spend the day outside with my family. Last year we were quarantined, and I got a T-shirt that said, "Hey, we're quarantined for Father's Day." This year I want one that says, "We outside." That's just really all I want, is just to take a good photo with my wife and my daughter, and just be happy that we made it through.
I love it. And Jeff, now Juneteenth is a national holiday, which now means even less for Father's Day, because now we definitely gonna
get pushing us out, man.
All right, Jeff gonna get a dashiki for both.
Man, listen. For Father's Day, I just want to be free.
I hear that, brother. I hear that.
Yes, sir.
So no, I'm literally doing whatever my wife says. And at this point, with all the kids I got, I am just excited that I get to be with all of them at one time. And it's going to be fantastic. I mean, we realize as dads that we are last, no matter what. What did Chris Rock say? Dad, the only thing Dad gets is the big piece of chicken. I got a 19 and an 18-year-old. So if I'm not to the table first, I'm not even getting that. So I'm just excited that that there are a lot of dads, and I want to celebrate the dads out there that may not be able to be with their kids. And I want to celebrate the people that for whatever reason may not be able to be with their dad. And so the fact that I get to be with my children is the blessing in and of itself.
On behalf of Chief Dad Jeff Johnson, my good friend Flex Alexander, I got to come play golf with you right there.
Yes, sir.
And George 2.0. And on behalf of all their incredible kids, I want to thank you so much. Our friends at Ebony Magazine for putting us together. Thank you, Ebony. Thank you, P&G. And thank you so much to everybody for tuning in. My name is Terrence J. And for now, I can just work on it. I'm going to start working on the kids right now.
Practice.
Practice makes perfect. All right. Love you guys.
All right, brother.
Have an amazing Father's Day, gentlemen. All right. Later.